Listen, this year isn't about explaining yourself to people who don't listen anyway. Focus on your craft, your faith, your grind, and let the noise fade into the background. Silence isn't weakness, it's strength in a calm suit, moving with purpose. When you stop talking, people start watching, and that's when the work speaks loud. So in 2026, keep your head down, your heart right, and let success do the shouting. Focus on personal growth, not public approval. Let silence protect your energy and sharpen your discipline. Allow results to speak louder than explanations. Focusing on personal growth instead of public approval sounds simple, but let's be honest, it's one of the hardest disciplines you'll ever practice, because from the moment you step into the world, people start clapping, judging, whispering, and expecting you to dance to their rhythm. And if you're not careful, you'll spend your whole life chasing applause that fades the second the lights go off. So you've got to make a decision, quietly, firmly, that your growth matters more than being liked, that becoming better matters more than being noticed, because approval is a moving target. One day they love you, the next day they question you, and if your confidence depends on their reactions, you'll live like a leaf in the wind, blown around by every opinion, every comment, every raised eyebrow, and that's no way to build a strong life. Personal growth, on the other hand, is steady, it's private, it's often boring, and that's why most people avoid it. Because growth doesn't always get cheers, sometimes it gets silence, sometimes it gets misunderstanding, and sometimes it gets mocked. But here's the truth. The strongest seasons of your life will be the quiet ones, the moments when no one is watching but you still show up, when no one is praising but you still improve, when no one believes yet you keep building because you understand something most people never do, that real power is internal. It doesn't need permission, and it doesn't ask for validation. When you focus on yourself, you stop explaining your dreams to people who can't see them. You stop shrinking your goals to fit someone else's comfort, and you stop posting your plans just to feel seen. Instead, you invest that energy into learning, practicing, failing, adjusting, and trying again, day after day, and slowly, almost invisibly, you start changing. Your habits tighten up, your mindset sharpens, your patience grows, and your discipline becomes your best friend. And while others are busy arguing online, proving points, and collecting opinions like trophies, you are collecting skills, wisdom, and experience. And that's a trade that always pays off. Public approval feels good in the moment. No doubt about it. But it's addictive, and like any addiction, it demands more and more just to give you the same feeling. Soon you're not doing things because they matter to you. You're doing them because you want the reaction, the likes, the praise, and the moment that reaction doesn't come, motivation drops, self-doubt creeps in, and progress stalls. So if you're serious about your future, you've got to break that cycle. You've got to learn how to work in silence, improve in private, and grow without announcing every step. Because the loudest progress is often the least meaningful. Focusing on yourself also means accepting that growth is uncomfortable. It asks you to face your weaknesses instead of hiding them, to admit you don't know everything, to sit with boredom while others chase excitement, and to delay gratification while the world screams for instant results. And yes, people might misunderstand your silence. They might think you're distant, arrogant, or falling behind, but let them think what they want, because while they're busy forming opinions, you're forming a future. And that's the difference between people who stay stuck and people who evolve. When you stop seeking approval, you free your mind. Suddenly, you're not afraid to make mistakes because you're no longer performing for an audience. You're learning for yourself. And mistakes become lessons instead of embarrassments. Setbacks become setups, and criticism loses its sting, because you know who you are and where you're going, and that kind of clarity is priceless. It gives you calm in chaos and confidence without noise. Focusing on personal growth means choosing progress over popularity, substance over style, and depth over drama. It means reading when others are scrolling, training when others are sleeping, and reflecting when others are complaining. And none of that is flashy, none of that trends, but all of it compounds. And one day, almost out of nowhere, people start noticing, they start asking questions, they start wondering how you got so strong, so skilled, so steady. And that's when you smile, not because they're watching now, but because you know the work was done when no one cared. Growth also teaches you patience with yourself. You stop rushing your timeline to match someone else's highly. Real, you stop comparing your chapter 2 to someone else's chapter 20, and you understand that becoming who you're meant to be is a long game, a quiet grind, and a deeply personal journey. And once you accept that, the pressure eases, you breathe better, you move smarter, and you stop wasting energy trying to impress people who aren't walking your path. Focusing on yourself doesn't mean ignoring the world. It means not letting the world control you. It means taking feedback without losing identity, learning from others without copying them, and staying humble without staying small. And as you grow, you'll notice something powerful. The need for approval slowly fades, replaced by self-respect, inner peace, and a quiet confidence that doesn't need to announce itself. And that's when you've really leveled up. Because anyone can chase applause, but only a few have the courage to grow in silence. Stay disciplined when it's lonely and trust the process when there's no proof yet. And those few, without fail, are the ones who end up building something real, something lasting, and something that speaks for itself long after the noise dies down. Letting silence protect your energy and sharpen your discipline is a choice that goes against the grain of today's noisy world, because everywhere you turn, someone is talking, posting, arguing, proving, reacting, and demanding attention. And if you're not careful, your energy gets drained before the day even begins, not by hard work, but by unnecessary conversations, explanations, and emotional reactions that lead nowhere. So silence becomes your shield. Not because you have nothing to say, but because you finally understand that not everything deserves your voice, your time, or your emotional investment. And when you stop responding to every comment, every provocation, every opinion thrown your way, something powerful happens inside you. Your mind slows down, your focus sharpens, and your energy, instead of leaking out in all directions, starts gathering in one place, ready to be used for something meaningful. Silence teaches you discipline because it forces you to pause before reacting, to think before speaking, and to choose restraint over impulse. And that pause, small as it seems, is where self-mastery is built. Because discipline isn't just about waking up early or working hard. It's about controlling yourself when no one is watching, when emotions run high, and when your ego wants to jump in and defend, explain, or impress. And every time you choose silence in those moments, you train your mind to stay calm under pressure, to hold steady instead of flaring up. And that calm becomes a competitive advantage in a world full of emotional chaos. Protecting your energy through silence also means understanding that energy is limited. You only get so much mental, emotional, and physical fuel each day. And if you waste it arguing with people who don't want to understand you, complaining about things you can change, or constantly seeking validation, you'll have nothing left for the work that actually moves your life forward. So silence becomes an act of self-respect, a quiet way of saying my energy is valuable and I'm not spending it on nonsense. And when you start living like that, you notice how much lighter you feel, how less reactive you become, and how much more control you have over your own state of mind. Discipline grows in silence because real discipline doesn't announce itself. It doesn't post every struggle or broadcast every plan. It shows up day after day, quietly, consistently, and without excuses. And silence helps you stay locked in, because when you stop talking about what you're going to do, you feel a stronger urge to actually do it. You stop performing productivity and start practicing it. And that shift alone separates dreamers from builders, because talking gives a false sense of progress, while silence demands real action. When you stay silent, you also become a better observer. You listen more, you notice patterns, you see people for who they really are, not who they pretend to be, and that awareness saves you from unnecessary battles, wasted partnerships, and emotional traps, because you're no longer reacting blindly, you're responding strategically. And that's discipline at a higher level, discipline of the mind, where you choose your battles carefully and conserve your strength for what truly matters. Silence also protects your energy by reducing rests, because constant talking, defending, and explaining keeps your nervous system on edge, always alert, always tense. But when you pull back, when you stop feeling the need to be understood by everyone, your body relaxes, your thoughts clear up, and you operate from a place of calm confidence instead of anxiety. And from that place, discipline becomes easier, because you're not fighting yourself all the time. You're aligned, focused, and intentional. Sharpening discipline through silence also means learning to sit with discomfort, to resist the urge to fill every quiet moment with noise, distraction, or entertainment, because boredom, silence, and stillness are where self-control is tested. And if you can stay disciplined there, you can stay disciplined anywhere. You learn to delay gratification, to stay present, and to push through resistance without needing applause or reassurance. And that kind of inner strength can't be taught. It has to be practiced, alone, quietly, and repeatedly. People often mistake silence for weakness, but in reality, it takes strength to stay quiet when you could react, power to stay focused when you could be distracted, and maturity to walk away when your ego wants to engage. And every time you choose silence over noise, you're reinforcing a disciplined identity. You're telling yourself, I'm in control. Not my emotions, not other people, not the situation. And over time, that identity becomes automatic. You don't have to force discipline anymore. It becomes who you are. Silence also keeps you grounded when success starts to show, because discipline isn't just about building, it's about sustaining. And when attention comes your way, silence helps you stay humble, stay focused, and stay hungry. Instead of getting lost in praise or distracted by expectations, you keep your routines tight, your standards high, and your vision clear, because you've learned that noise can inflate the ego, but silence strengthens the foundation, protecting. Your energy doesn't mean isolating yourself completely. It means being selective, intentional, and mindful about where you invest your time and emotions. It means choosing meaningful conversations over pointless debates, purposeful work over constant updates, and inner progress over external validation. And as you do that, your discipline sharpens naturally, because you're no longer scattered, you're centered, you're not chasing attention, you're chasing excellence. In the end, silence becomes your training ground, your reset button, and your secret weapon. It guards your peace, strengthens your focus, and builds a level of discipline that doesn't crack under pressure. And while the world stays loud, reactive, and restless, you move differently, quietly stacking habits, quietly refining your craft, quietly becoming stronger. And one day, without warning, the results speak. Not with noise, but with undeniable presence. And by then, you won't need to say a word, because your discipline, par, protected and sharpened by silence, will have already said everything for you. Allowing results to speak louder than explanations is one of the most freeing decisions you can ever make, because explanations are exhausting. They drain your energy, dilute your focus, and keep you tied to people who were never meant to understand your journey in the first place. And the truth is, the more you explain yourself, the less powerful you appear. Not because clarity is bad, but because constant explaining signals doubt, insecurity, and a need for approval. And once you realize that, you start shifting your mindset. You stop trying to convince, justify, or defend every move you make. And instead, you put that energy into doing the work so well that no explanation is required. Results carry a weight that words never can, because words can be twisted, ignored, or forgotten. But results sit there, solid and undeniable. They don't argue. They don't beg for attention. They simply exist, and in their existence they tell the whole story. The late nights, the sacrifices, the discipline, the failures, and the persistence, all wrapped up in one visible outcome that speaks for itself. When you rely on explanations, you stay stuck in reaction mode, always responding to doubts, criticism, and curiosity. But when you rely on results, you move into creation mode, where your focus is on building, improving, and executing, and that shift changes everything, because creators don't waste time debating their vision. They bring it to life. Allowing results to speak also means accepting that not everyone deserves an explanation. Some people ask questions not to understand, but to judge. Some listen not to learn, but to find flaws. And some are simply uncomfortable with your growth because it reminds them of what they avoided in their own lives. And explaining yourself to those people is like pouring water into sand. It disappears without nourishing anything. So instead of talking, you build. Instead of defending, you improve. And instead of arguing, you advance. There's also a quiet confidence that comes with trusting results, because it means you believe in your process enough to let time reveal it. You're not in a rush to prove anything. You're patient, grounded, and focused. And that patience is powerful. Because most people quit before results show up. They talk themselves into circles, explain their plans endlessly, and burn out before the work compounds. But you, choosing silence and execution, stay in the game long enough for progress to stack up, and when it does, it surprises everyone, including the ones who doubted you the loudest. Results speaking louder than explanations also protects your peace. Because once you stop feeling responsible for how others interpret your choices, you free yourself from emotional labor that was never yours to carry. You stop rehearsing conversations in your head, stop worrying about being misunderstood, and stop adjusting your path to fit me on else's expectations, and that mental space you gain becomes fuel for focus, creativity, and resilience. Explanations often come from fear. Fear of being judged, fear of being wrong, fear of being left behind, but results come from courage, the courage to move forward without applause, the courage to risk failure in silence, and the courage to trust that consistency will eventually outshine criticism. And when you operate from courage instead of fear, your actions become cleaner, your decisions become sharper, and your progress becomes inevitable. Letting results do the talking also builds respect, even from those who doubted you, because while people may ignore words, they can't ignore outcomes. They may question your methods, but they can't deny your achievements. And that kind of respect isn't demanded, it's earned. Slowly, quietly, and permanently. And once it's earned, it lasts longer than any temporary validation you could have gained through explaining yourself. There's also discipline hidden in this principle, because staying quiet and letting results speak requires restraint. It requires you to resist the urge to clap back, correct misconceptions, or announce every small win. And that restraint strengthens your character. It teaches you to delay gratification, to stay focused on the long-term picture, and to measure success by progress, not praise. And that discipline becomes a foundation you can build anything on. Explanations try to control perception, but resolve. Create reality, and when you focus on reality, on tangible improvement, on measurable growth, you step into a different level of maturity. You stop worrying about how things look and start caring about how they work. And that mindset shift alone can transform your entire life, because it aligns you with truth instead of image. Allowing results to speak doesn't mean you'll never communicate or share your story. It means you choose the right moment, after the work is done, after the foundation is solid, and after the progress is real, because at that point, your words carry weight. They're backed by evidence, experience, and execution, not just intention. Over time, you'll notice something subtle but powerful. People stop questioning you as much. They stop asking for explanations, and they start paying attention, not because you demanded it, but because your consistency made you credible. And credibility is the loudest language there is in a world where everyone is talking, posting, and announcing. Choosing to let results speak is a radical act. It separates you from the noise, grounds you in purpose, and keeps you focused on what actually matters. And while others are busy explaining why they haven't started or why things didn't work out, you're quietly building something that stands on its own, something that doesn't need defending, just acknowledging. And when that moment comes, when your results finally speak, they won't shout, they won't brag, they won't argue, they'll simply exist, strong, clear, and undeniable. And in that silence, you'll realize you never needed to explain yourself at all.